How and Why Did the Roman Empire Fall? By Abraham, Jacob, Alice, and Lara. The Roman Empire was one of the biggest empires of its time. However, a question more pressing than how Rome became powerful is how such a large empire disintegrated. A combination of external pressures and internal struggles led to the eventual weakening of the political core and problems with the military. Prior to the death of Augustus, conquering provided a steady supply of resources. After Augustus's death in 14 AD, Rome ceased to conquer more land and therefore had less money and resources. As an empire that needed conquests to function, land and its resources were a large source of its income. The lack of expansion led to the need of resources to overtake the amount of surplus that they had. Another problem with the lack of expansion was ending the flow of slaves into the economy. Rome needed a high percentage of slaves in their economy, and less slaves hurt the economy. Toward the end of the 2nd century, a period of Roman peace known as the Pax Romana began to fade. Soon, the peace was replaced by a period of economic, military, and political strife. As resources dwindled, emperors started to debase coins and hoard gold. The lowered value of coins led to inflation, subsequently worsening the economy. As inflation progressed, wages did not increase, therefore angering the workers and the soldiers of the military. Thus, the unsatisfied soldiers demanded more money, and the government had to debase the coins even more, leading to a vicious cycle and wrecked economy. The 3rd century crisis was, like the name suggests, a period of economic, political, and military turmoil. There was a big depopulation in the empire due to disease brought by the army. The lack of people meant that the government was not generating as much tax revenue. Less taxes means less money, especially for the army. Understandably, the army became upset and no longer wanted to fight. A smaller army meant less people to protect the border. Germanic tribes, groups of nomads to the north of Rome, began pressuring the northern border. After the Huns were run out of China, they started pushing the Germanic tribesmen west, and slowly they became a perilous threat to Rome. The government was broken and the army was crippled. The situation for Rome was dismal at best. This might have been manageable, but the final straw in the 3rd century crisis, which is what a lot of people usually blame before the crisis itself, was the political situation. During the Pax Romana, great emperors ruled and the empire prospered, but Commodus, whose reign ended at the turn of the century, was a terrible dictator. He is who a lot of people blame for the disintegration of Rome in the 3rd century. Yet this is an unfair judgment, as there were other factors that led to the problems of the 200s. Commodus would not have been able to cause so much strife unless there were underlying problems in the system. It must be mentioned, however, that bad emperors later on did play a role in the weakening of the central power in Rome. When Diocletian took power in 284, the empire was suffering from revolts, problems in defense, and government inefficiency. To help defend the frontiers, he almost doubled the size of the army by hiring Germanic tribesmen. This increased the threat of revolt, and the tribesmen's refusal to submit to Roman training and discipline worsened the army's efficiency. Diocletian tried to solve the problem of rebellions by breaking the army into smaller commands while keeping a part of the army under his own direct command. One of the reasons the government was inefficient was that the empire was simply too large to be under the control and defense of one ruler. So Diocletian split the empire between the east and west, with him ruling in the west and an appointed Augustus ruling the east. Although this helped to completely defend the empire, it also led to disunity and bad cooperation between the two parts. Diocletian's reforms, while miraculously able to sustain the empire after such a tumultuous period in the 3rd century, led to many problems in the future, such as heavy taxes to sustain the new military and bureaucracy. To assure they were getting consistent taxes, the government tied everyone to hereditary life stations, leading to decreased incentive to work hard and a deteriorating economy. Thus, the government raised more taxes, and this process started again. And this cycle, in combination with the bureaucracy's civil wars over position, led to anarchy in the 300s.